Everybody, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching in from. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Happy Hour. Wanted to pop in this evening, hang out with you guys for a little bit of time. Wanted to go over some quick updates to my portfolio. No incredibly massive changes, but made a few different additions. Touched on one of them last night. And have some other ones that I wanted to touch on as well, as far as kind of why I added them into my portfolio, as well as why things are where they are right now for the time being. Taking a look at some of these comments here. Hope you guys are having a solid one so far. What's up, Aman? What's up, George? MJ? Jason, thanks everybody for joining early. Appreciate that very, very much. Daniel, what's up? Chris, hope all is well. And as far as things went today, there was a bit of a pullback in the past 24 hours from a nice sustained run that we had recently. Pretty much have recovered from that. Bitcoin is back above $9,000 for the time being. Ethereum back in that 650 plus range. Ripple doing all right today. Stellar. EOS again making a nice little bit of a run after its pullback recently. So what's up, Sprinkler Ninja, Shane, Matt? Hope you guys are having a good one here today. And we'll definitely give some people a little bit of time to join before I hop into the portfolio as a whole. Not sure if you guys saw, but pretty crazy that it is already the 5th anniversary for CoinMarketCap. It's nuts that they've been around that long, and they are one of the most trafficked websites on the entire internet, so that's pretty crazy. Quick heads up that if you guys are playing the BitMEX, Bitfinex game, per usual, we're seeing a red candle the second I start streaming, so if you are playing the BitMEX game and the demo accounts, always a great time anytime I come on live onto YouTube Live to hit that 100x short. I'm just kidding, but seriously, every time I stream, the price seems to drop off a cliff. And then every time I drive over the George Washington Bridge, the price does the exact opposite. So who knows what's going on with that. So hopping into things today, if you guys want to see, so I always have my portfolio on my website. I don't make that many updates to it, simply because I don't trade that often. Most of the time when I do invest in crypto, it's medium, I would say medium to long term. Probably the shortest term trades I usually look at is, like, let's say, the shortest term trades I usually look at is usually around a week or so, maybe 5 days to a week or so. Yes, Greg, this is Willy Wonka Purple. I am back today. My lighting is trash in here, and I'm way too lazy to. I'm packing some stuff up and moving some things around, so I'm way too lazy to actually move my like big fancy TV style light in front of me to actually get good lighting. So you get Purple Rob from now on for the time being. But as far as my, like I was saying before, as far as kind of my trading or investing style goes, it's usually medium to long term. I would say long term in crypto, I think, is like 6 months. I mean, that's, for me, long term crypto is like 6 months to a year. Beyond that, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Who the hell knows what's going to happen with that? And as far as my portfolio is set up right now, if you guys want to see, like I said, it's on the website, but pulling it up right here, I updated this today, and the largest portion of my portfolio right now is still in Bitcoin. It's just sub of 30% right now. I am, say, weighted about 30% Bitcoin, 70% altcoins, and the altcoins that I'm in are ranging from everywhere from top 10 type altcoins in terms of market capitalization all the way down. I think the lowest one I have right now is 400. It's maybe a $18 million cap coin. So we'll get into those two that I recently entered into that are lower cap than I would normally, that I'd normally go for. So that is something that right now I have tried to, take a shot with some Bitcoin and some profit that I made on some trades. Cardona was a trade recently that I made a decent amount of profit on, close to doubled on a Cardano trade. So I wanted to take a bunch of that profit and move that into some other places as well. Both of those being right now the two new additions that I have to my portfolio is Ravencoin and Nectar, which is Polyswarm. Essentially, Nectar is NCT. It's the Polyswarm token. Those are the two additions that I had to my portfolio in the past week or so. Raven, I've started to accumulate on right now. You can see that is now around, I think it's around 6 to 7% of my portfolio. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I have Nectar, which is another small cap, fairly recent ICO. Not tiny cap. I know Kyle is accumulating. Kyle's been shilling some $5 million bags at some point in time, some $5 million market cap bags. And I have actually thought about one that was brought up kind of recently was Mercury Protocol, and that's taken a hit so badly, down from like $40 million market cap wise all the way down to $2 million, that I've almost been tempted to open up a pretty fat position in, but I have not done that yet. What's up, Crypto Dale? I am not drinking a Busch Light. I'm drinking Poland Spring because I'm not keto like you are, Dale. You guys can all make fun of Dale in the comments for being keto and not being able to eat carbs right now. You can probably laugh at him for that. So I'm not keto, but I am drinking water right now. And it's not Busch Light, unfortunately. So Jorge mentioned, how about BAT? I actually recently exited my BAT position. I did pretty well on BAT, close to 100% profit on Basic Attention Token. I'll pull, where's BAT here? So Basic Attention Token in the past month was up 150 something percent, or is up 150 something percent. I took the majority of my profit from Basic Attention Token and the majority of my profit from Cardano and moved those into smaller cap bets with Ravencoin and Nectar. That was kind of my thought process there. So wanted to, most of the time I'm in larger cap coins outside of Bloom, BLT, Raven, and Nectar. The majority of my tokens, we can scroll down here, the majority of them are top 100. Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum, VeChain, Zcash, Wabi is not one, but AirSwap is another one. Obviously, I work there, so I'm not going to talk about price, but I do have a pretty substantial holding of that. ZRX, 0x, Nebulous, Rchain, Cardano, and then Bloom, Ravencoin, and Polyswarm are all around sub 300 in terms of their ranking and under $40 million in market cap. So that's kind of where I'm at this point in time, just in terms of overall weight. Happy to ask any questions on that. I love seeing people making fun of Dale for being keto. Sounds awful. Sounds miserable. So a couple different questions here. Where did you purchase Nectar? I like IDEX actually for some of these coins. IDEX isn't bad. Another question there. Are you still confident in Cardano for the long run? Glad you took profit. I am confident in Cardano in the long run. I do think right now that a lot of the hype is around EOS. So I think that EOS and Cardano are kind of competitive in terms of like that third gen platform. And I think that if people are hyping up EOS and a lot of the thoughts and the money is all going to EOS, it's going to be hard for Cardano to make a sustained move, because I think a lot of the money that might go to Cardano would go to EOS. Granted, it's not a 1-for-1 ratio or anything like that, but I do think that they are pretty competitive in nature, especially when you have Charles Hoskinson and then you have Dan Larimer, and there's a little bit of the beef between the two, and they're kind of trying to do the same thing in some respects. So I think that with EOS's run right now and kind of where Cardano's at and the move it's had, I figured, hey, now might not be the worst time to take some profits and move it elsewhere. Although Cardano's held up pretty nicely today. And Kyle's saying EOS and Cardano are competitive in the overpriced white paper sector. We'll call it a Generation 3 platform. You might call it overpriced white paper sector. You know, ipso facto, maybe the same thing. Who knows? Don't jinx it, Rick. Don't jinx it. How come no Tron in your portfolio? Because I'm not crazy. Now, actually, yes, we are dropping. So thank you. You're welcome every time I live stream in the past. What do we have? You know, we're down $50. You're welcome for dropping it. clearest sign in the world to short every single time I go live. It's the easiest thing on the planet to do. Just short when I go live, and you're going to make money. It's guaranteed. It's a fact. I'm kidding, but seriously. But as far as Tron goes, I mean, it's just something that for me personally, I don't want to say I'm philosophically opposed to trading Tron, because I'm certainly not. But at the same point in time, I do think Tron kind of had its run. And granted, there's still an army of people that don't understand the fact that Tron is basically vaporware that are happy to invest in it and retweet Justin Sun and like his posts and all that stuff. On the other end of the spectrum, though, I think there's just better places to concentrate and to potentially put in your money. So that's kind of my thought process right now. Is I'm just not a big Tron guy. Not a big Tron guy. Lucky B, Raven a long-term hold. Vaporware, no, never. I would never talk about vaporware. Raven, for me right now, I don't know if it's a long-term hold, but I do think it's something that has a decent amount of upside when we're talking about the number of people that have started mining it, the markets it's on right now. I talked about this quite a bit last night. Not sure if everybody was on that. On that stream, but I did talk about the accessibility of getting something like Ravencoin. It's really only on Crypto Bridge right now. Nobody's buying it on Nanox. It's basically on one exchange. It'll eventually get to more exchanges. Hopefully, that's somewhat of the thesis to move into it. And that's not the only thesis, but digital assets on a Bitcoin-like blockchain. Also, ASIC-resistant mining. There's a lot of other things that I think could potentially pump the price of Ravencoin. And I would like to consider potentially mining it in the future as well. I tweeted about this yesterday, where I am thinking about setting up a mining rig in the next month or so. So we'll hopefully be setting up some conversations with some people. Yeah, Kyle, I have heard that Bittrex does want to list. And apparently Bittrex wants to list Ravencoin, but Ravencoin is really trying to be a very decentralized cryptocurrency without a specific figurehead, although Bruce Fenton's kind of that figurehead, whether he wants to admit it or not. He's kind of been the one that's launched it and promoted it for the most part out of anybody, but apparently nobody wants to sign off on, for Bittrex to list a cryptocurrency, somebody apparently has to sign off on it. So that is... Right now, nobody is doing that. Maybe somebody will, or maybe they'll add it without it, or maybe another exchange will pick it up. I would certainly think that another exchange might pick up Ravencoin at one point in time. The one thing in some cases holding it back is it's not an ERC20 token. It's Ravencoin. It's something that's actually mined. It's its own blockchain. It's not just some random ERC20 token that you could just interchangeably throw onto another exchange or anything like that. But I do think that, that's kind of priced into the action at this point in time right now. Naima, what's up? Your thoughts on WAN chain? I do like WAN. Certainly like WAN chain. I kind of think that, let's see where it's. So I certainly, what do we have here? I missed the entrance to WAN. I've kind of refused to get into WAN ever since I missed the entrance. This was literally, I was tweeting about it down here. If you can see this portion right here, if I draw like a line, I was waiting for WAN to break below 40,000 Satoshi, like this line right here. I can even draw a line right now in real time, but I'm too stupid to do that. Whatever. So this portion right here, my mouse isn't doing anything right. But this, the 40,000 Satoshi mark, that was kind of the area in which I was looking for WAN chain to break below. I thought that this was like a week after the ICO. The ICO came out at about 10, 11x of the ICO price, and kind of bled off a little bit, and I thought there was going to be a lot more bleeding. I thought some of the whale ICO investors were going to start taking profit and shaving that off. However, the second it hit 40,000 Satoshis, it actually dipped below, maybe for a few hours, and then just bounced back up, climbed, and it has since been what do we have? It's since been about 120% return since I was tweeting about that. So I have kind of admit defeat on on WAN chain for the most part. Granted, it could still go up quite a bit, but I think that I'd prefer not to buy it right now. And I think that I missed the entry that I should have. I made a bad decision. I made a bad move, and I should have entered into the trade, and I did not do that. So unfortunately, kind of that's where I'm at right now. But I do like WAN chain. I've met the team multiple times. I know a lot of people that are working there. I think they're going to do good work, and they're going to continue to, I think, advance in the space. So should be interesting to watch. Did you miss your chance at Bitcoin at 700 too? No, I actually bought Bitcoin at 800, 1,000, and then it crashed all the way to 200, and I bought it at 200, 250, and a lot of other places. So no, I didn't miss my chance at Bitcoin at 700, but I did. I have bought it a little bit. Earlier than that. So funny talk there. Let's talk EOS. This is an interesting one. Because so I talked about EOS yesterday, and I think that somebody said I was an absolute idiot, moron, stupid a-hole because I don't think EOS is going to overtake Bitcoin. Now, if that person can explain to me why in a coherent, detailed manner, which I'm guessing from the comment that they put into YouTube, that they probably can't explain to me in a coherent, digestible manner why EOS will actually replace Bitcoin. First of all, Ethereum, then Bitcoin. But I do think that there is, the higher the price goes of something and then the more severe the pullback. Granted, the EOS pullback has not really been severe yet, but the higher the price goes on something, the more outlandish some of the, I don't want to say bag holders because they're not bag holders, you're most likely sitting in profit, but the more outlandish the claims get from people. And it's kind of funny to see that happening with EOS, even though it's still like 50% off its all-time highs, but comparison to a lot of the other tokens right now, it's been recovering a lot faster. It's just been funny to see the number of, like, I really haven't seen that many like EOS shills per se in the past, and now they're just popping out of the woodwork left and right and like attacking people. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. The one thing I would say to that, to EOS, to anything else, is don't get too attached to a bag. Never get too attached to anything. That's a bad move. Always remain objective. Unless you're unless you're like literally working for the company, like always remain objective. Like things can always change. The price can always change to the flip of a switch. The sentiment of the cryptocurrency can always change to the flip of the switch. Don't get too attached to a specific token or to a specific cryptocurrency because that can spell bad news for you in the long run. And I don't think that is always the smartest move on the planet. Seeing XRP, 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 XRP. If you put it 5 times, then maybe I'll say it 5 more times. Who knows? So I'm pulling up some of these questions. I'll definitely try to get to as many of these questions as possible and kind of riff off them. But if there's anything you must have answered, throw it in a super chat and I will definitely get to that. Sir, please discuss Electroneum. I'm not an Electroneum fan. That is one token that I am not a fan of. I have not been a fan of Electroneum since the ICO. It has pulled a pretty fat move from the ICO. It had basically, what are we at now? Following the ICO, it did really well. There was one point in time, I think Electroneum was a ridiculously easy 10x. I don't think the project has anything special whatsoever. That's my personal thoughts. That's my personal opinion. I don't think they are the cryptocurrency to bring mass adoption. I don't think mobile mining is that big of a deal. I think they're a simple Monero fork with good marketing. And that's my personal thoughts and opinions on that subject. You might think otherwise. You might think Electroneum is the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm simply not a fan of, I'm really just not a fan of kind of the project in general. And I just think they're kind of more fluff than they are. I think they're more fluff than a lot of other things out there. Robert C, what's up? Strong name, Robert. Love the name, first off. Real strong name. But thoughts on D Cred? D Cred is definitely, I think, one of the more well-respected tokens, one of the more well-respected projects in the industry. It's already pretty highly valued. It's over $500 million, but I do think that they are attacking a very kind of interesting use case, and blockchain governance is something that is going to be big at some point in time or another. I don't know if D Cred is going to be the project that solves it, but at some point in time, blockchain governance is going to do really well. With that being said, I think right now a lot of people do believe that D Cred is probably in the lead when it does come to governance, and because of that, you can see a nice $50 or $500 million valuation. I am positive on D Cred. I don't own any D Cred, but there's a lot of people that I respect that like it quite a bit, so I'm fairly positive on that. You talk about Ravencoin and Polyswarm. So I talked about that previously, so I don't want to spend too much more time going over it. But Ravencoin is one that Ravencoin and Polyswarm, both that I recently entered. Smaller cap coins, Ravencoin is about 32 million. Polyswarm is about 18 million. Polyswarm is one that came out. It ICO'd during the bear market. So Polyswarm ICO'd during the bear market. That was difficult. It basically ICO'd I think it pretty much started ICOing at the top, and then at the top of the bull market from Ethereum's perspective, and Ethereum is down about 50% or so since that ICO took place. A lot of other tokens have been down quite a bit, but I think the bear market in general for ICO has negatively affected a lot of decent to strong ICOs, and I've seen that happen in the past where there were other projects. This was back in like September, October, where Bitcoin was really strong, where Bitcoin took a big dip back in September of 2017 with all the China FUD and a lot of other things. Bitcoin was at $5,000, went down to $2,500, and then Bitcoin kind of slowly gained steam. And a lot of these other ICO projects that were coming out at the time that were pretty legitimate projects really suffered in terms of their valuation and presented pretty solid buy opportunities. I think some like Polyswarm might be those types of opportunities. What's up, Cali Crypto? Hope all is well, buddy. So a couple questions, and I had a little bit of a Twitter thread about Polymath recently, and I was kind of going back. So Polymath and T0, a lot of people talk about. They're both tokens attached to them, and for my day job, I'm doing a lot of work and a lot of research on security tokens. I think security tokens are the market in general. So one of the big reasons that I think people are very excited about Polymath and T0 is that people have seen, for the most part, that the market is moving from the market is potentially moving from utility tokens to security tokens. Now, what are security tokens? Security tokens are basically tokens that are registered securities. So they are really only available for accredited investors, and they provide liquidity to, for the most part, the use case now is they provide liquidity to illiquid assets that are only available to accredited investors. And Polymath and T0 are two companies. Polymath is the security token platform. It's kind of the token for launching, or it's the platform for launching a security token. And then T0 is going to be the exchange, I believe, for trading those security tokens, if I'm not mistaken, on a secondary market. Polymath is a currently tradable token right now. There is the Poly token that allows you access to, as an investor, to gain access to these tokens, to invest in security tokens, as a KYC provider, as an individual, or as a company that wants to launch a security token. You need to utilize Poly tokens to access that. The one problem I have with, and I've gotten criticized, people have disagreed with me on this, but the one problem I've had with both like Polymath and T0 is I think adding a token into the mix, into the ecosystem, not adding the security token, but adding another token on top of somebody else's security token, I think that adds unnecessary friction. And there are other companies out there that I've spoken to and that I know of that are doing this as traditional venture-backed companies without a token involved whatsoever. So they are helping companies launch security tokens. They're going to be registered. They're going to be registered with the appropriate financial services regulators and things like that. They're going to be registered, and they're going to allow companies to register or to create security tokens, and they're not going to need to buy whatever XYZ company's token, because there is no token. They're just going to spin up. They're going to pay people are going to pay them for the help to create a security token, and they're going to go on. And you might say, oh, well, I invested in Poly, or I invested in T0. It's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. That may be true, but at the same point in time, I have also talked to other people in the industry that are literally going through the process. Like, this isn't just like hearsay. There are people that are actually going through the process of creating security tokens and spinning up security tokens, and they've chosen to go with other vendors outside of Polymath and outside of some of the other ones. So I think that's just something that I'm looking at from personal opinion, or from personal experience and personal opinion, and saying, you know, maybe these guys have success. They have a ton of money in the bank. They have a solid team. They have solid advisors. I mean, if you look down here, they do really have, if you go, I'll scroll down here, the team itself is pretty solid. Their advisory board, they have Patrick Byrne from Overstock. They have Steve Nerioff, who is one of the co-founders of Ethereum, Eric Voorhees, Anthony Diorio, Bruce Fenton from Satoshi Foundation, Ravencoin. They have a lot of people, but I think that in the long term, there is going to be a massive market around security tokens. I don't know if Polymath, T0, or somebody else is going to win it, but I do think that there's only one way to bet on security tokens right now. There's only one method to bet on how successful security tokens will be, and right now that outlet is Polymath tokens. So people are saying, hey, security tokens are going to be big. I'm going to buy a bunch of Polymath, or I'm going to buy a bunch of Poly tokens, and we're going to crush it. And that's kind of how it goes. Yeah, and Ty Lopez. This is my Lambo. This is my Ferrari. These are my books. This is my knowledge. Kevin VT, what's up, brother? Can I look at the Infinito wallet? What is this? So not too familiar with this. I would have to do a little bit more due diligence into it before I would recommend anybody put a dime into it. Universal wallets or multi-asset wallets are fairly interesting. I mean, being able to store Bitcoin, Litecoin, ERC20 tokens into the same place is pretty. I mean, that's obviously a solid use case. I personally prefer to use a Ledger or a Treasure than I would ever store anything in my phone, on an iPhone or on a Google Android or anything like that. So this could be interesting, but I still think that you're much better off keeping something on a hardware wallet with your backup phrase written down somewhere, multiple places that are inaccessible to you. So I personally am not I would not probably leverage this, but I'd have to look into it further before I would say anything like disparaging about it or anything like that. Bobby, have you looked into proof of work weak hands 3D? It's a Ponzi scam piece of crap. Guys, it's not a Ponzi scam. We're on a smart contract. Blah, 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 blah. Surprised that maybe because it's spelled wrong, but I blocked all the phrases around proof of weak hands so that people couldn't comment on that, because I was getting just a ton of ridiculous comments around proof of work or proof of weak hands or whatever that crap was. So I just blocked all the phrases around that. But I would not put. You want to, a Ponzi scheme is a Ponzi scheme, whether it's on a smart contract or it's decentralized or whatever it might be. A Ponzi scheme is a Ponzi scheme, and eventually you are going to buy the top. Yeah, shout out here. What do we got here? Let's do it up. Proof of Craig Grant token, baby. Let's get it going. If you guys want to jump off a bridge right now, please. If you want to take your money and put gasoline on it and light it on fire and then put it in put the ashes into a container and then put a cinder block on the bottom of them and then throw to the bottom of the ocean. That is what I think putting money in proof of Craig Grant coin would be. So what the fact that this dude is still doing things is the craziest thing on the planet. So a lot of questions about A-Chain. I've seen A-Chain speak at a few different conferences. Personally, there's probably other places that I'd rather put my money in from a platform play perspective. They have started marketing a lot recently, so that might, perhaps that's a reason that I'm starting to see. There was a point in time where I never really saw questions about A-Chain, and now we're starting to see more and more questions. You can see the volume pick up pretty substantially as well. I don't know if that's a new exchange listing. They're on OKX or on Huobi. Wouldn't doubt if they get listed on Binance at some point in time either. If that happens, it might pop off at that point in time as well. But I think they're starting to market and they're starting to kind of get a better understanding from a marketing standpoint. I really haven't looked into the A-Chain technology in depth. Farshid, sorry for that. Missed your super chat. Appreciate the heads up, buddy. What do you think about Zinfin? Four reasons why Zinfin could do 100x. You sold me, folks. Golly jeepers, another 100x. Just tell me why I could do 100x. Anytime somebody's marketing as 100x, scares me. I haven't checked these guys out at all. Yeah, haven't looked into them at all at this point in time. So I'd have to look at them a little bit further before I could say that. Obviously, they didn't write that article talking about them being 100x, but just from the top, I guess remittance wallets, marketplace. I'm not exactly sure what they do off the top. Sounds like they're in beta at this point in time. They have a trade platform. Who knows? I need to look into it a little bit further before I give any type of commentary. But a YouTuber said Tron was going to $17 this year. WTF? Even better. Why is Ripple XRP not pumping with all the good news and partnerships? Because Ripple already pumped. There's only so many times something can pump, in my personal opinion. Granted, Ripple can certainly do that again, but if we pop back here, so here's the Ripple chart on. Actually, let's go to Bittrex. A longer price history. I mean, there's really only so many times something can pump. And I think people also tend to overestimate the impact of news. Like, people think that because Snoop Dogg is performing at a Ripple conference that they deserve to get 50% ROI on a Ripple trade or something like that. Like, it doesn't work like that. And I do think that the market especially moves in cycles, hype moves in cycles, and people just get worked up over a specific cryptocurrency. I mean, you look at the run that Ripple had. The run Ripple had in November or in early December to like the end of December to January was like the most ridiculous move ever. It absolutely took off. I mean, Ripple went up 1,400%. That's incredible. Over the course of 26 days, Ripple went up 1,400%. That's the silliest, most ridiculous thing on the planet. And you can't just expect because you announce a partnership or because Snoop Doggy Dogg is performing at your conference that you're going to go up 50% or because there's something else going well. Every time, so I'll say this, every time you announce a partnership, the next partnership or the next bit of news that you announce has to outdo that. Otherwise, you're going to get diminishing returns on that news. And I'll definitely say that again. Every time there is a partnership announcement or some big major news announcement, it's diminishing returns. You can see that across the board on basically every single one of these cryptocurrency on pretty much every single cryptocurrency. And every time there's a repeatable event, the returns diminish. It used to be like, if you look at Ethereum, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys were around with the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. There was a point in time where anytime an Enterprise Ethereum Alliance announcement came out, there were partnerships like JP Morgan is joining, Microsoft is joining, whoever. It would pump the Ethereum price to the moon. And then people would be waiting for the next EEA Alliance or the next Enterprise Ethereum Alliance announcement, and it would pump it a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. And then finally, like, it just didn't do anything anymore, and people didn't give a crap anymore. The same thing happens for a lot of these partnerships. Like, unless it's some incredible company, every time new news comes out about something, it pretty much has to radically outdo it. Otherwise, you're going to see less returns across the board. Jason, what's up? Thoughts on Dropple? Just, I guess, on IDEX at this point in time. I think somebody's asked me about these guys before. I haven't gone through the process of really researching Dropple at all. Probably not my cup of tea from a straight up investment standpoint, but I can do a little bit more research on them at this point. I'm not sure from an arbitrage, like how the autonomous, trading bots, arbitrage bots, I don't know. If you have a trading bot, if you have an arbitrage bot, you're probably not going to ICO it. You're probably going to take 100. You're probably going to raise a bunch of money, and you're going to have a bunch of money, and you're going to run that bot. You're going to run that algo, and you're going to make your own money. And you're not going to give it to anybody else. And you're certainly not going to rent that out. That's kind of been my stance on trading bots, algorithmic trading, a lot of these like profit trailer, all that type of stuff. That's kind of been my thought process in that for pretty much the majority of time. When Ford Pinto, I don't know. I mean, it depends upon where the price goes. So somebody mentioned Cash, Qash. I used to think it was spelled Quash. I used to think it was pronounced Quash, but Cash from Coin One. They're a pretty legit project. I definitely like them. I don't have any money in cash right now. I think so. When I went to an event out in Dubai, the World Blockchain Forum. I got a chance to hang out with Korean Jew trading. If you guys are familiar with him, Korean Jew trading on Twitter. He's got a bunch of followers. Good dude, really solid dude. That's like one of his favorite bags. I think he's out in Korea right now, or just went out to Korea. But Cash is one of his favorite bags, so I think that that's definitely something that he's done a ton of research on it. But I don't have any money in Cash. I have read the white paper in the past. It was probably 3-4 months ago at this point in time in which I read the white paper and looked over it. Certainly a legit company. They have an actual exchange behind it. They're trying to solve an issue with liquidity, kind of cross-exchange liquidity, and a lot of the current issues that we face in the crypto world. There are other companies that are trying to do that as well. There's a company called Caspian that I might have on the channel at some point in time in the near future. I think they're based out of Hong Kong. Really solid team that's trying to do something similar to what Cash is doing. They have existing trading infrastructure in place right now. There's also Xtrade, who I had in the channel before. That I think kind of in the ICO process or recently out of the ICO process. I didn't participate in their ICO. But they're trying to do something similar to Cash as well. So definitely a problem that a lot of people know is an issue and are trying to rush to solve it. Thoughts on Telecoin? I'm not big on telecommunications on the blockchain or on blockchain technology utilizing telecommunications. Just not my cup of tea, Clonius. Regardless if it's first world, third world, not my biggest interest at this point in time. And OST is one that you hear about a decent amount. I need to go through the white paper at this point, though, or at least take a little bit more look into everything that they have going on with the OST kit and OST view. KYC is interesting. There's a ton of I've seen so many different companies that are trying to create a KYC solution. I'm curious as far as how theirs works. There's Civic is probably one of the biggest. Utrust is also another one that's backed by consensus, but those are Civic and Utrust are two of the biggest ones. And there's some other ones like with OST here, some other focuses as well. But KYC is definitely something where there's going to be a vendor or two that really crushes it. Taking a look at some of the questions at this point. Apologies for going through this. Let's see here. I talked about the ban on privacy coins the other day. I think it's tough for governments to ban privacy coins once you actually get Bitcoin into the ecosystem. Self-key, I've heard varying things on from companies that have actually used self-key. I think a few months ago I'm not sure if I'm sure they've made advancements since, but I've heard that self-key was maybe a tougher to use solution for some companies that have run ICOs in the past, maybe in like fall or summer of 2017. So Brielle Pearson, do you recommend any premium groups besides Korean Jew? I met Korean Jew. I have no idea. Like I like him a lot. I have no idea how his premium group works. I don't really know what it costs or anything like that. I don't recommend against paid groups. If you want to put your money in a paid group, if you like the individuals that are behind that, go ahead and put your money in a paid group. That's definitely up to you. There are certainly people out there, I think, that do a fantastic job with paid groups, and there are probably people that simply do it to take your money. I would doubt Korean Jew is the type to. I feel bad calling him that. I think his name's Jake. But I don't think he's the type to take your money. There are definitely those type of groups out there, though. So you just always, like you do your own due diligence on a cryptocurrency, do your own due diligence on a paid group before you would ever enter that. I have personally never even joined a paid group, but I'm not one of the ones who just bashes every single paid group. I'm sure some people do get value and use out of them. Any considerations in the ICO landscape? So there was, let me see if I can pull it up here on Twitter. I'm trying to see, there was a tweet that, token data maybe? Let's see, here we go. So this is interesting if we're talking about ICOs. So you can see here, a lot of people talk about ICOs and I'm not seeing any good ICOs. I'm not seeing any I like this, that, the other thing. The market for ICOs is definitely cooling off. We are now at less than we were in July of 2017, August more actually. But right now, the market for ICOs, the market for initial coin offerings raised $548 million in April of 2018. The market peaked in December and January. January, the bull run, obviously, people are throwing money left and right at ICOs. The market for ICOs raised $1.6 billion over over the month of January. That's now cut down to about a third of that. Although that's still less, it's still less than what we saw in September, October, and November. I think a lot of that is due to regulatory uncertainty. There have been a lot of comments that have happened where companies that were thinking about doing an ICO perhaps in the US have moved externally, or they've decided not to do that. They've decided not to do that at this point in time. A lot of it's moved abroad, and then I think that the environment for initial coin offerings, the environment for ICOs is a lot less attractive to people in the market, even though it's probably counterintuitive. But a lot of people are much less likely to put their money into an ICO when the market is down. The market has been down, and as it's gone down, you can see the amount of money that's also been put into ICOs has been reduced as well. So, I mean, going back to that question, I do think one thing to consider here when you're thinking about the ICO market or the ICO landscape is there's also that potential push towards security tokens. I think there are going to be, people are calling them STOs instead of ICO, security token offerings. However, with STOs, that's mostly going to be for accredited investors. I myself, I'm not accredited, so it doesn't really help me. It doesn't really give me any solid opportunities. Maybe you're accredited, maybe you're not accredited. But security tokens are really primarily going to be for accredited investors. And it's funny because a lot of people are very excited about security tokens, but at the same point in time, I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily realize that if you're not accredited, you basically don't have access to any of those tokens at all, which is unfortunate. And it's kind of just a redux of traditional venture capital, just with a token layer added onto it. So that's something that that is something that you want to consider. Like all the people that are saying security tokens are going to be the best thing in the world and they're going to reshape finance and et cetera, et cetera. That's cool if you're an accredited investor, but if you're not going to do much for you. It isn't, just not. So you guys, if you are watching this channel right now, obviously because you are, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, helps to get this video out to as many people as possible. Would definitely appreciate that if you could throw that thumbs up on the channel. That would be fantastic. Zach Schneider slamming a beer, my profile pic, def accredited. Well, what type of beer is it? Because that's what matters. Is it Busch Light for Crypto Dale? Is it a nice stout for me? Is it an IPA? Got to hear what it is. Top 3 small caps: BitConnect, and BitConnect. I think those are. I think BitConnect right now, it's down about 99.9% from its all-time high. I think it's a roaring buy right now. BCC is a hot smoking deal. And I think it's, like a lot of the BitConnect guys said, you want to buy the dip and you want to stake your BitConnect tokens because it's a ton of utility when the platform shut down. And, you're always going to have access to BitConnect X. So it's going to be pretty solid in the long run. Basic attention token, I am a fan of personally. I did sell the majority of my basic attention token or move that over to a trade with Ravencoin for the time being. I do get paid basic attention token by some very nice people on this channel. I'm using the Brave browser right now. There are some pretty awesome people out there that actually contribute basic attention token to me on a consistent basis. And with that, I ended up keeping that and rode up so we can see here, over the past month, 150+% gains. I took over 100% gains with basic attention token. Decided to move that over to Ravencoin because that hasn't done that much in the past month, while basic attention token has crushed it. But long term, I really like the Brave team. I like the browser. I like what they're doing, and I like how basic attention token fits into the ecosystem in the near term and in the long term. So it should be interesting to watch these guys in the long run. What do y'all think about the Tron rumor? Is there anything but rumors with Tron? Alex Urshwood says, thanks, Bobby. Just invest my life savings into BitConnect because of your advice. Can't wait to buy my Lambo. You'll actually be able to buy 2. I'll take the other one. I like black Lambos, so if you want to just ship that to my door, I will take that. So thank you. You're welcome. What do you think will happen with Litecoin in the next 6 months? So Litecoin is an interesting one. There's a lot of people that I've seen the love for. It's kind of funny because I've seen in some respects the love for Litecoin die off. Litecoin crushed it, and it kind of goes back to the EOS point as well. I think that actually Litecoin hasn't done bad by any stretch, but when you're thinking about, I think when you're thinking about Litecoin, has been losing a little bit of steam in comparison to Bitcoin recently. It crushed it in late 2018. It was pretty depressed, and it made that run all the way up to $400. Now it's down to, looking USD wise, is up to down to like 147 or so. Everything is significantly off the all-time high, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's pretty much in line with a lot of the other cryptocurrencies out there. I do think Litecoin is in a very competitive space, which worries me a little bit. I don't personally own any Litecoin right now. I have used it in the past quite a bit. I've made trades on Litecoin in the past. When I've made, even my wife doesn't believe me. I had made trades on Litecoin in the past, and I have used it to move between exchanges because it's fast, it's quick, it's cheap, it's great. But it is a competitive space when you're talking about a pretty much strictly transactional cryptocurrency for the most part. Yes, you can say Litecoin is the test net in some cases for the Bitcoin product advancements like atomic swaps, like Lightning Network, like some of the other things there as well. But I do think that Litecoin has to compete with Bitcoin in some respects, and Bitcoin, if Bitcoin can work with SegWit and Lightning Network to increase or to decrease transaction fees, that makes Litecoin less attractive. Bitcoin Cash is also very competitive to Litecoin because it is a transactional cryptocurrency that is typically fairly fast and fairly cheap. The Litecoin is competitive to Bitcoin Cash. You have Dash or there's a lot of cryptocurrencies that I think are comparable in nature to Litecoin. And with that being said, you also have the fact that Charlie Lee is the figurehead for that. I think him selling Litecoin, I don't know if things have necessarily been the same since. That's kind of always a knock. I feel like that's always a knock on Litecoin moving forward. Jared Pence, you are sleeping on EOS. Wake up. $100 EOS is enviable. I think that's supposed to say inevitable. Yeah, I think I'll go to sleep on EOS right now at $100. I mean, if EOS goes to $100, that's fantastic. That's great. I mean, it's at $20. Where is EOS right now, market cap wise? It is at that like 15 billion or so. Let's see, $15 billion market cap. If it goes up to $100, it's a 5x. You're talking about $75 billion essentially, a little bit more than that. 75 80 billion bucks. You're essentially implying that it surpasses Ethereum, and that very much determines, I think, on how mainnet. I think that very much determines on how mainnet goes with Ethereum. Do they actually gain adoption? Does it beat Ethereum? There are legitimate, I guess, ways it could beat Ethereum. There's also things that make it more difficult, specifically the amount of mind share and the developers that are working on Ethereum right now and the people that are kind of prominent that back Ethereum. There are a lot of very prominent individuals and important people that are fully invested in Ethereum. You will miss the EOS boat. Like, there's the fact that there are so many people telling me I'm going to miss the boat and telling me that it's going to go to $100 makes me just want to short it, to be honest with you. Like, that is, yeah, I think I don't want to say that's irrational exuberance, but I think that goes when the price of anything goes up, everybody thinks that the price can only go in one direction. It can only go up. Could EOS go to to $100 and be a $75 billion cryptocurrency? Yeah, you're damn right it could. Crazier things have happened. Ripple was over $100 billion. EOS can certainly be over $100 and a $75 billion market cap. But saying it with absolute certainty is definitely not the case. Do you hate Bitcoin, Crypto Bobby? I don't know. Let's pop over to my portfolio and see if I hate Bitcoin. What's the one thing that sticks out a lot more than the others? I don't know. Is there one thing that sticks out more than the others? Would that imply that I hate it? No, it would not imply that I hate that. Talk about tiny coins on Cryptopia. Not necessarily my specialty by any stretch. You want to go shitcoin diving on Topia? Go shitcoin diving on Topia. That's certainly, that is a specialty in and of itself. But that's kind of not where, that's not my bread and butter per se. I don't even have a Cryptopia account right now. Eric, good question. Eric 2.0. Decentralized versus centralized, does it matter? Yes and no. So I think that there are certain people out there that are very, very pro decentralization. Very pro decentralization. Bitcoin is highly pro decentralization. Ethereum is also, for the most part, even though there's certainly some issues with the DAO that have happened with the parity hack now, where there's an element of centralized decision making and things like that. But Ethereum is also pretty decentralized. Monero, a lot of these other ones are fairly decentralized. And then there is some cryptocurrency and also some projects that are much more centralized in nature. Granted, there's pretty much an element of centralization on every single, there's a varying degree of centralization on every single project, but I do think that the world, that a lot of these companies are moving more to a model of decentralization. I don't think we're going to be fully decentralized. I don't think everything is going to be fully decentralized in 5 years, but I do think that there are major risks with a lot of centralized services, products, solutions, companies, etc., that decentralization can help solve. But I also think there are issues with decentralization for the time being as well, in terms of governance, in terms of proper decision making, timely decision making, things like that. So I think we're still probably 5 to 10 years away from actually like really ironing down where things fall, proper governance, and kind of more thoroughly moving from centralized systems, services, and solutions to decentralization. And to that point as well, a lot of people out there look to something like, when the Facebook hack happened, or not the Facebook hack, or like the Facebook data scandal happened, or when some of these hacks have happened in the past. People have talked about, let's go to a decentralized solution. Let's use these decentralized products, all this good stuff like that. Until the user experience of those decentralized solutions actually matches that of a centralized solution, the majority of end users are not going to care about decentralization. They're going to want the best user experience possible. And until the decentralized solution matches a centralized solution from a user experience perspective, from a user interface standpoint, they are not going to migrate from one to the other. So that is something that I think a lot of companies are realizing, that the UI and the UX of their products and solutions has to be on par or better than a centralized party, because people don't care as much about decentralization as they do, is this pretty? Does it work? Can I use it? Is this advantageous for me in the long run? So that's something that I think a lot of companies out there have to think about too. Best and worst exchanges. So I use, for the most part, I use Binance for the most part when it comes to centralized exchanges. IDEX is solid. So Binance, IDEX is legit. There's a lot of very recent ICOs that are on IDEX. EtherDelta used to be good. EtherDelta went down the tubes and now it's Fork Delta. So I don't really use EtherDelta that much anymore, but IDEX is pretty solid. I'm actually moderating a panel with, I think, one of the founders from IDEX at the Fluidity Summit in New York. If you guys are in New York on May 10th, it's one of the best, I think one of the best conferences around, and it's a tenth of the price of Consensus too. Tickets are $300 in comparison to $3,000. So I will be speaking. I'll be moderating a panel with IDEX, and also Don, one of the co-founders of AirSwap that I work with, is going to be there. I'm also partial to AirSwap as well. If you guys haven't checked out the token trader, I would recommend giving it a shot. It's pretty damn awesome. You can use it with Ledger or MetaMask. So if you have a Ledger, if you have a MetaMask, or if you're on your phone, you can actually use it. It's mobile compatible as well. So definitely check it out. It's, I think, pretty seamless, and the user interface is pretty slick for a decentralized token trading platform. But decentralized wise, I like IDEX and I like AirSwap right now. And then centralized wise, I'm a fan of Binance. I pretty much use Binance for the most part. Bittrex, if there's something that's not on Binance, I'll use Bittrex as well. I've had a Bittrex account forever. So that's there as well. And then I recently started using, well, it's just kind of for the purposes of Ravencoin, but I bought Ravencoin using CryptoBridge. That wasn't bad. Not an incredibly great user experience, but definitely not a bad user experience at all either. So those are kind of the main ones that I use is IDEX, AirSwap now. I've been using that for some of my tokens because I work there, so full transparency. And then Binance, obviously the biggest, largest volume, most coins, and then Bittrex is pretty much all you need at this point in time. I do have a Poloniex account. I can't remember the last time I logged into Polo. It's been a minute. Basically everything that's on Poloniex is on Binance or Bittrex, so there's not a massive need for me to utilize it. Chad Fenwick, solid question there. Cloud mining worth it, or could have just bought the same amount of Bitcoin and made out better? I'm not personally a fan of cloud mining. I know a lot of people that are, like somebody like Not So Fast, who is probably one of the most well-regarded, Not So Fast, who I got to reach out to him, but hopefully I'll have him on the channel at some point in time. He's one of the most well-regarded crypto miners on Twitter. He's been on the Crypto Street podcast, and he is pretty much an expert at speculative mining as well, which is really interesting. But he has said some things about cloud mining, which I really agree with in the past, that it just doesn't make sense in a lot of respects for companies or for individuals to utilize cloud mining as opposed to either mining it themselves or just buying it. Shout out to Bitcoin Kyle. Bitcoin Kyle is also somebody, BTC Kyle, that I would also love to have on the channel to talk a little bit about mining and some other things. If you guys aren't familiar with BTC Kyle, check out his channel, hit the subscribe button for him. And while you're hitting the subscribe button for BTC Kyle, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button on this video. That'd be fantastic. Tony Perkins, out of tokens get listed on AirSwap. Hit me up on Twitter and or shoot me an email, rob@cryptobobby.com. And I will, I'll get, if you need anything in regards to token listing on AirSwap, I can start that conversation for you internally with some of the people I work with. So definitely happy to, if you have a project, if you have a token or just generally interested, happy to do that. Jason mentioned self-sovereign identity. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. I think that is a pretty, it's a strong use case for blockchain technology, strong use case for decentralization. There are a lot of companies, projects that are working on self-sovereign identity. Who knows if it will, I don't know if we can certainly determine whether or not a winner is going to happen or not, but that's definitely something that I think is a pretty clear use case for cryptocurrency. Kevin VT, AirSwap is in the process, I believe, of listing more ERC20 tokens on the platform. If there's anything specifically that you're really interested in, always feel free to hit me up on Twitter, and I'm happy to pass that along to the team that is kind of working on ensuring that there is as many strong assets that people want to trade on the AirSwap platform. Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate that super chat. Very kind of you. Just a QT wallet, Sorga Kill. That's where I'm storing Ravencoin for the time being. Cheyenne mentioned good thought process there. Good question there. 99% of CoinMarketCap currently has no use case. All I see is big corporations like IBM, Microsoft, and banks creating their own blockchain. It's a good thought. Like even today, I kind of joked around because IBM came out with another, like IBM tweeted today, they have a partnership doing some type of custom industry blockchain solution. There are a lot of companies out there that are doing some level of blockchain technology. However, it's really not decentralized. If you are, like Amazon recently announced that they basically have I believe it's like an Ethereum as a service. I think there are two different blockchain solutions that they're running now as a service on Amazon Web Services. You have IBM doing something similar. I used to work at Oracle. Oracle is doing something similar. Microsoft has blockchain as a service on Azure. There are a lot of big companies out there that are trying to create blockchain, like cloud blockchain solutions that are easy to roll up, easy to spin. The problem with that per se is that depending upon the benefits, there might not really be that many benefits to running basically a centralized blockchain solution where you can simply run that. If you're going to run a centralized solution, you might as well just run a standard database as opposed to a blockchain. So that's something that I think is part of the consideration there. And I wouldn't say 99% of CoinMarketCap has no use case. I mean, if you're talking all 1,500, yes, there are, out of 1,500, there are 1,000 plus really, really crappy use cases, crappy projects, but there are certainly solid projects there as well. BTC Kyle mentions, have I traded on CryptoBridge at all? Yes, I have traded on CryptoBridge. That was actually the first time, I think was 2 days ago when I bought Ravencoin for the first time, or a day ago, whenever it was. CryptoBridge was pretty easy to use. Just send Bitcoin to register, send Bitcoin to the address. I think you just have to save your private key, create a username, you save your private key, send Bitcoin to your address. You can trade Bitcoin to whatever's on it. Ravencoin is really the only thing that trades on it worthwhile, at least that I saw. And I went through that process, and then I got it off the exchange, and we're good to go there. So CryptoBridge, fine experience, nothing crazy, nothing fantastic, but definitely comparable to any other average exchange experience out there. It sent Bitcoin to it and got Ravencoin out, and was good to go. So. So taking a look at some of these questions here. What is a QT wallet? A QT wallet is basically a desktop wallet that you download on your computer and you run. It's a desktop application. Typically, it syncs up the entire blockchain. So in a lot of cases, you actually have to load all of the blocks. And when you download it initially, it's probably going to take an hour or two. It's actually pretty quick for Ravencoin because the actual blockchain itself is only a few months old, so there's not that much history to download. For something like Bitcoin, that would take you like days and days and days probably to catch up on that. Actually, probably close to like a week or so. I would think. I don't remember exactly, so I don't have the QT wallet actually running on my computer for the Bitcoin wallet. But yeah, for right now with Ravencoin, it does not take very long. It's basically just the actual like true software from the developer is not like a third-party software. Kind of what the QT wallet is at a very high level. You guys, at this point in time, have been going on for about an hour or so. Going to be an old man and finish my tea at this point in time, head to bed, go to the gym tomorrow, do the same thing over again in the morning, go to work, and kind of enjoy everything from here on out. If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out in the comments below after this and or via Twitter. Happy to take questions via Twitter as always. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's live stream. It does process. If you missed any of it, it should process pretty quickly, and you can go watch back any of it. And if you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. Really helps to get this video out to as many people as possible. So I sincerely appreciate anybody, anybody doing that. Thank you very much, Eric B. That is very kind of you. I appreciate the words there, Eric. Super kind of you. Next time I would love to answer your questions. You're so gracious. But for everybody else, it's actually a nice, kind human being. Have a fantastic night, Eric B. I hope your night sucks. And everybody else, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.